One change that might have flown under a lot of people's radar is the cost reduction, I believe it was, to the Demon Princes, the generic Demon Princes that were added with the Champions of Chaos DLC, of course available for Warriors of Chaos or for the Monogod factions. Here, Rocket Roo is going to be taking the Demon Prince of Nurgle as Nurgle against the Skaven here. I believe this is Cool Umbrella playing the Skaven on the home team, if you will. And this is very interesting. The Demon Prince of Nurgle offers you a very powerful flying lord that can act as a mobile force on the battlefield, which is something that Nurgle really lacks. You can take the Herald on the Rotfly, which is okay, but this guy's definitely quite a bit more tanky. A lot of HP, 60 melee defense, of course, poison, 50 melee attack, decent weapon strength as well, over 500. Fairly solid. The rest of the build here, lots of chaff to take on the Skaven. We've got Marauders and Nurglings, 4 of each Nurglings out on the far flanks, and some spawns in the center. We've also got a couple of Exalted Heroes here. For the Skaven, Snitch leading the way. He's got some Blight Scabs, Plague, Packs here, Clan Rat Spears, and Shields. Interesting to see the shields here. I guess just for the extra melee defense. Not that you'd really need them for Nurgle's missiles because they don't have much. Plague Priest here. We've got Ikit Zap Zap, the Avalanche Mortars, and then defending the back, some Skaven Slaves, along with Rat Ogres and Wolf Rats. Who's this? An Assassin here with Deathmaster as well. So, get things rolling here, and right off the bat, the lack of Howling Warp Gale is going to be a problem for the Skaven. It's not, I mean, Nurgle isn't a faction you might typically think of as bringing particularly powerful flying units. They definitely have an air force, which can be scary. Even just Furies, as with all Monogod's factions, are a problem. They're going to rush in, zap zap here, and be countercharged immediately by the Rat Ogres and the Wolf Rats as well. A bit of Spirit Leech. Is that Lore of Death? Interesting. Or does this guy have a mixed lore? That's right. It's got Stream of Corruption, Spirit Leech, and Miasma of Pestilence. So no direct healing, although Children of Nurgle, of course, will give some map-wide healing every time he casts a spell. So just spamming those cheap spells. Is that actually bound? Okay, uses 2. Yeah, bound Stream of Corruption. I totally forgot that that was a thing. Actually quite strong. I'll have to look at this guy's cost after the fact. I'm going to be honest, he'd kind of flown under my radar as well. Especially, Nurgle can struggle oftentimes in land battles, but this guy almost acting in sort of the Be'lakor role to a degree. I mean, obviously not quite as good as Be'lakor, but can definitely be fairly solid, is doing a great job here. The mobile forces of Nurgle are doing a good job occupying this artillery also. Then the Exalted Hero can get in. He's got great armor piercing, weapon damage, can absolutely carve up these armored models. For the Avalanche Mortar, no problem. The Furies definitely can do the job as well, but will struggle a little bit more to get through armor. I mean, decent weapon strength on them, no question. Only 70 armor on the Avalanche Mortar, so really not that much at the end of the day, but they're going to get eaten up. Rat Ogre's doing their best to try and protect, but it's definitely a tough situation. Got the Blight Scabs fighting in the front line alongside lots of Clan Rats. Marauders will definitely beat Clan Rats over time. Marauders of Nurgle, very tanky for light infantry of their cost, considering. But look at this also. The Zap Zap continuously hitting the Demon Prince, but him not really caring too much about it, taking little bits of damage here and there. Not a lot of armor, so he is vulnerable to high volume non-armor piercing shooting, but of course the terror means that he can jump in and with a nice rush attack, get rid of a lot of these Skaven Slave Slingers and other units which might be threatening to him. The Zap Zap is still zapping away. Deathmaster and his assassin need to get in here and try and finish off, or at least push away the Nurgle champion, although it looks like he's going to move away of his own accord, try and circle up and around, go after that Plague Priest there, double time, although it looks like the Deathmaster and his assassin close the distance, so let's see what happens up close. These single entity character fights can often be a little bit confusing, but critically here, this Nurgle champion gets zoned away from his buddy, who then has to fight 3v1 versus the other Skaven characters, and obviously that results in him getting absolutely destroyed, Weeping Blade on him, and everything else just, yeah, not a good time. Down to only 60 armor. Demon Prince is going to jump in here, though, and try and even this fight out, and his heavy mass of terror will get rid of a lot of the Skaven support units. Probably enough to actually just deck these Rat Ogres. Not quite yet. Looks like the Exalted Hero is still routed, but definitely could have been much worse. Deathmaster also gets soloed out here, and it's particularly dangerous given that high weapon strength and magic damage of the Demon Prince means that poor little Snitch here is going to take a lot of damage from him. The assassin comes to try and help, but Snitch at the end of the day really doesn't have much HP at all, so in a sort of straight fight like this, he oftentimes will get absolutely crushed, but the assassin is at least in range to try and help out a little bit here. The lack of armor piercing damage on the assassin also going to be 0% issue, especially with Weeping Blade tearing away at 15 of that armor. Absolutely spectacular. Spawn of Nurgle also made it through. Of course, they're unbreakable, going to continue fighting, and just the crushing strength of Nurgle here is really showing through as the Skaven support units more and more start to flee. They're going to come back from rout in a lot of cases, but then getting them back into a meaningful position to contribute is going to be tough. You see here a Weeping Blade again. Actually, what's applying that there? Huh, interesting. Does he? I was going to say, does Deathmaster actually have Weeping Blade? Okay, he does. For some reason, I thought that he didn't, but no. I also don't remember 100% exactly how the scaling damage works for that Deathmaster. I'd have to read up on it again and see exactly kind of how that HP scaling works, how it increases his weapon strength, I believe, when he's attacking targets is how it works, but anyway. Regardless, though, the Demon Prince still has plenty of HP left at this point, and probably some Spirit Leeches left on station as well, maybe to try and take out Snitch at a distance if he needs to. Right now, quite a bit of HP left, more than 50% HP, no problem. And the thing is, even these Nurglings, again, because of their magic damage, if they aren't managed to isolate Snitch and get some hits on him, they have a surprising amount of damage output. And 28 weapon strength might not seem like a lot. They can swarm around. Again, only 24 melee attack as well compared to the 50 melee defense of Snitch. Really doesn't seem like much, but law of large numbers says if you have a minimum chance to hit, even if it's only a minimum chance to hit, which I believe is 8% if I'm correct, get enough chances, you're going to get hits eventually. And especially in a surround, units in the rear arc and side arc oftentimes, depending on how the attack animations are playing out and sort of some other weird shenanigans, generally they're going to be getting, bypassing a certain amount of the melee defense, depending on if they're in the side or rear. Lightscap's Plague Pack, though, not going quietly into that good night. They are still fighting. Great leadership on them for Skaven, and the magic damage also, combined with the armor piercing, means they're a great offensive tool against anything Nurgle can bring, really. Which seems odd, considering that they're, Plague Packs, but anyway. Not think about that too much. I know there's probably some lore there where, for some reason, they actually hate each other, but they are going to form a little bit of a Skaven Doom Blob here in this late game, and just smash these Marauders that do end up getting close. Of course, they do carry a leadership debuff contact effect. Here, the contaminated effect, which will allow this kind of death pocket to rout these very tattered Nurgle units quite easily. The Demon Prince, though, is still here, and granted, he's only one unit, but as long as he stays close to this one relatively healthy Marauder, uses them as kind of his anchor, cycle charge on and off of. Got his two heroes reunified as well, so even though between the two of them, they're not even 50% HP, it's still a decent situation. Definitely looking dangerous. I mean, the Skaven are technically behind on the balance of power. But we'll see. Rat Ogres getting caught in a position here. They have no choice but to try and surround and lock these two heroes of chaos in place. Deathmaster Snitch then closing the distance. We're going to see a bit of a debuff, though, on that Plague Priest, and the Demon Prince tries to snipe him out as he's isolated from the other characters, but in doing so, he also sort of dives into the center. Now the Rat Ogres terrify away. Deathmaster also seems like he's had enough. He's only got 17 HP left at this point. Took a couple of hits from those Exalted Heroes, and it looks like he's running for the hills. Very unlikely to come back. Even if he does, he'll just get killed. So probably best for the Skaven player here if he does just rout, but at this point, there's very little to challenge the Demon Prince. I mean, The Plague Priest technically does magic damage, doesn't have a ton of weapon strength. 300 with Frenzy active is okay, but we'll see how long Frenzy stays active. He's also got a decent item here, the Scrying Stone. If he can have this situationally off of cooldown, will help with that leadership and some damage resistance as well. But the Demon Prince also has reinforcement columns of Plague Marauders advancing. And he can pull back up into the air, of course, force the Skaven into those Marauders, and then charge down, get the rear charge penalty. Hopefully terrify away some more of these units. Balance of power sort of swinging kind of wildly back and forth, and hanging on to that bound corruption. Oh no, wait, I was gonna say, there's no way. That had to be from the Skaven, right? It's hard to tell, but yeah, it looks like that was actually the Pestilent Breath. I think it's like a wider cone, right? I don't know. Also, mostly only killed Marauders there, so... yeah, at this point, it's just the Demon Prince. Just the Demon Prince, so let's see if he can hold out against this horde of Skaven. I will say, the Assassin being quite healthy gives me a bit of pause here. Deathmaster is still technically on the field. When he does go off the side, that'll give a temporary leadership debuff to the Skaven, which could maybe tip things to where the Demon Prince can just come in and get a big terror route. But I mean, the Plague Priest leadership seems fairly decent right now as well, although realistically all it takes is one big hit on him from the Demon Prince, and most likely just straight terror out once that frenzy wears off. We'll see. Let's keep it in nice close cinematic cam. I feel like it's very appropriate that these factions are fighting here in the Chaos Wastes. A little bit of a Spirit Leech there on the Plague Priest. Definitely a good target. Try and finish him off before he even gets close. The Assassin also would have been a great target, but it makes sense to focus the weaker target since he will, yeah, just rout. And you can, instead of having to fight two weakened targets, you can just fight one target instead, which is definitely better. Most situations. Oh, yeah, but generally the terror is an issue. For the Skaven, big old sweeping attack animations send Rat Ogres and the Assassin tumbling, and that's it. Skaven leadership just can't stand up. Snitch recently having fled leads them to their end, and a very good use of the Nurgle Demon Prince here. Love to see it in some land battles. 227 kills, fairly solid overall, 19,000 total damage dealt. Very impressive stuff. I'll have to give this guy a shot myself next time I play Nurgle in land battles. The Exalted Heroes also okay. I mean, they're fairly expensive for what they did in this particular battle, but they also kind of acted as distractions to a degree. Helped soak some of that damage, if I'm being generous. Yeah, the spawns here also, pretty good value on them. The Nurglings and Furies, great attacking on the flanks, taking out some good value targets here. Quite a few of the Nurglings, like 500 value on Nurglings, fantastic. 700 on some Furies is also pretty good. The rest of the Furies struggled, but tactically they were able to get through and silence a lot of these Skaven missile units, like the Avalanche Mortars were completely a non-factor, and then Ikid Zap Zap also took substantial damage, didn't do quite enough to pay for itself, but was pretty decent. Plague Pack, same thing. I mean, they're a little bit more expensive, I believe, but their performance overall is fairly solid. I do like the idea of them here. I think, in general, Snitch is a fairly solid Lord choice, and I've also talked a bit about this recently, that the Assassin, also decent, but I think generally, especially in a match where you're going to need to play the attrition game, and the fact that these Rat Ogres already did fairly decent with not, you know, no healing support, I'll say. You kind of know where I'm going with this, but the Packmaster is a hero choice, especially in a matchup where you're likely to have to fight on some level in some grind fight. Definitely either Throt or better, the Packmaster hero. Support your Rat Ogre Blob would definitely be advisable in this matchup. But anyway, let's take a look at the rest here. Yeah, Clan Rats with shields also. The shields sort of add a bit of an element to make them less cost-effective, in my opinion. Although I do understand having higher melee defense against Nurgle might seem like a decent idea, but unfortunately they don't get any better leadership, right? So that's tough. But yes, I would definitely say if we have a comparison here, so the Packmaster can also take the Scrying Stone, which is nice. But just with running with the pack, obviously to get the heal, and then up on the Broodwhore, 1350 is quite a bit. An Assassin, even with a full kit, isn't going to come close to that, and most likely, realistically, you're going to probably cut down and maybe just take Assassin's Trophy. Concealment Bombs cost nothing, so that's there as well. Maybe you add Slippery if you have the extra gold, but you can make the Assassin, you know, less than half the cost if you need to of the Packmaster. But in general, I would say, you know, cutting the shields from the Clan Rats, 25 gold each, that's, you know, an extra 100 gold there. There's maybe some other funds you could tweak around. Snitch is also decent, but in this matchup, it might be better to have a Lord with a bit more HP, just overall. Tretch is cowardly, but he does have more melee defense and a bit more HP, and 90 armor, so he's not going to be as vulnerable to those non-AP threats. And, of course, damage resistance, some other abilities to kind of try and kind of survive those engagements. A little bit of anti-large as well, so you will still fight against someone like the Demon Prince okay, although you definitely don't want that happening for a prolonged period of time. Again, Throt is also another option here if you want to cut the Packmaster, or you could take both, I guess. But, yeah, the summon is okay. And his on-command heal, I believe, yeah, this one, it's pretty decent. 0.5% heals per second is quite a bit for 24 seconds. I mean, yeah, that's a decent amount of HP. 12, what is that, 12% HP, if I'm mathing right? Plus 24 melee attack and 8 leadership. It has to be a Molder monster, but maybe you just go heavy in the Molder theme in this particular matchup, you know. Now that I think about it a little bit more, I mean, Throt, Gorich is decent, although if you take Throt and Gorich, then definitely you need a caster, so you wouldn't be able to take the Packmaster, or alternately you could take Throt and a Packmaster. You know, if you really want to go all in, maybe you take, like, Hell Pit a Bomb, maybe Flat Ogres, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Would the Molder theme build work very well in this matchup, or is it too squishy in some elements? Do you need more of a combined arms Skaven force? Let me know what you think. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification for more. That's it for today. Thank you all so much. We'll see you next time.